Mr. Albert, I would like to welcome you in the eForum.gr. The cooperation of the eForum with Znet are giving new prospects to the political activism here in Greece. Thanks for the willing to give us this interview.
Not willing, eager. Thank you very much for having me.
Recently, the Greek justice impeached the owner of a Greek bloc with the charge of disbarrassment. The Greek government grants the opportunity and it requires the creation of a legislative context in the Internet. Its effort aims at the abolishment of the anonymity in the Internet, as well as the gagging of bloggers' right to freely express themselves. Its basic ally is the ignorance of Greek citizens at issues regarding Internet and blogging. I am aware of the fact that 10 years ago, Clinton government tried to do the same. In which manner you managed to face such as a provocative act, and what's your opinion about the plans of Greek government?
That's the old-fashioned coercive way of doing things. And on the internet, A, I don't think it can work, and B, it is infinitely less effective than if you can find a way that's structural and that seems just. That seems coercive. That seems censoring, because it is, right?
Yes.
So that's not the way you do it. And the way you do it, I think, is you impose barriers, fees for use. So in essence, you say incoming pipes can be big,
Yes.
but outgoing pipes, right, you must pay for a lot, right? And they can even make it sound, I hate to give them, an agenda, but the way you do this is you say to the public, you say, look, we're going to support the internet by charging the providers, not you, not the consumers, right? We're going to give you big pipes, big access. You get the full benefit of the internet. But the providers, the corporations, the people with the deep pockets, that's who we're going to charge, right? Sounds pretty good. Except when you suddenly realize what it does is it says the only people who can provide are the people with big money. Right? You notice? So it's very effective. That's what I would do. So I think they made a mistake. And I think that the internet has grown so big and so ubiquitous, so universally utilized, so widespread, so fundamental to many kinds of transfer, which does introduce dangers of breakdown, but set that aside, that you can't turn it off. It's just impossible. In the United States, if they decided the internet is a horrendous mechanism that is fueling dissent and is fueling resistance, and so suppose we had movements next year on the scale of 1968, and suppose they were getting bigger and bigger, and the internet was part of the communication vehicle. So what does the government do? You can have temporary repression, et cetera, but you can't just shut down the internet. It is now fundamentally involved in everything. You can do something, though, and this is what I would anticipate them doing, not just then, but period. Suppose you create a much faster internet. An internet which communicates video and audio, et cetera, in much greater volume. And you make known that internet is very expensive. And there have to be substantial fees for those who are going to be providers of information. You see, Amazon is not interested in the public having to pay to access Amazon, right? That's a disaster from Amazon's point of view, and every other company. So none of them want people to have to pay to get content. But to provide content is a whole different thing. So suppose you put and that's the way radio and TV, it's not different. In other words, you don't pay for radio, you don't pay for TV, you pay in the sense of the advertisements, right? But the advertisers want that material to be accessible. So in fact, advertisers would like it to be the case that you could get the equivalent of a gigantic catalog online easily, of video ads, of audio, of all sorts of stuff. The more content that you can receive, the better. Okay, so as long as what's the problem then from the point of view of elites? Well, from the point of view of elites, if you can receive this infinite content at no cost, there is the possibility of leftists providing content. Okay, but that's true for radio or TV. So how do you keep people out of radio or TV? You keep people out of radio or TV by making very high barriers to entry on the provision of information, not the receiving of it. So what you do is you make it very expensive, and in radio and TV it's trivially easy, because it is very expensive to produce sophisticated TV or sophisticated radio. Nowadays, that barrier has dropped because it's possible, you're doing it right here. It's possible to produce audio and video at low cost and then disperse it via the internet. So even that old barrier, right, that prevented the left from using radio and TV very effectively is now dropping. Because you can actually, it turns out that the production of radio and TV is not so expensive, and the dissemination has become much cheaper because of the internet. So what do? I think what they do is they change the internet so that there are surcharges, there are high fees for the provision of information, not the receipt, right? And that's the way that you diminish the usefulness of the internet to who? To the poor, to anybody who lacks resources. So if I was them, that's what I would have done a long time ago, right? Now it's hard to do because now it has been established, and now, you know, people all over the country in their homes feel that they can upload their videos and in other words, provide videos, provide photos, and they want bandwidth. And to do what I'm talking about, the way you do it is you diminish bandwidth outgoing. So in other words, if you provide, say, to our house here, right, you could provide cable bandwidth incoming to the house that was this big and that could carry full video. Outgoing, you provide bandwidth that's this big and that can carry what? Requests to buy things, right? That's the right approach from their point of view. That's the approach that works from their point of view. Luckily, from our point of view, although I could not understand at the time and I still can't understand it, they didn't see that. They just barreled ahead. It's an example, this is an example, I think, of capitalism seeking profits, and nobody stepping in to say, wait a second, the long-run effect of that approach to short-run profits is negative. We have to put a lid on this. We have to intervene. And nobody intervened. And so the internet grew. And so whether they will mount an effort to reverse the trends or not, I have no way of knowing. Whether it would succeed or not, I'm doubtful. But it might.